let's get this started. Tonight on Trading Shots, we got the game-changing meta. We're trying out an all-new segment called Quick Scope, and we're going to talk about roster mania in that. It's inevitable at this point. And for the grand finals, our players will debate which FaZe Clan 1v3 was better. Rich Campbell here, Maven, Benson, glad to have you two back. We got a hell of a show, so let's get it started. We got a brand new segment that we want to try out. It is called Quick Scope, and here are the rules. Players, you're going to be prompted with a scenario, and in this episode, that's going to be if a roster change is needed for a certain squad. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, and from there, business going to proceed as usual. And players, you're going to have to decide yes or no, and you have to make a stance. If the answer is a team change is needed, I'm going to ask who should be dropped or who should stay. After each team, I'm going to reward the points. So let's start off with our first team, Luminosity Gaming. And Clint, I'm going to let you start first this time.
No, Luminosity do not make a change. I mean, we've talked about the fact JCap was kind of joking. He's now been in 6 out of the last 7 winners bracket finals. These guys are basically a lock for the top 3 right now. When they're on a tear, they can win the tournament. No, you got the best AR in the game, arguably the best AR in the game. You've got top sub players, top 3 flex player. No, I don't see why you make a change. You've been the most consistent team in Call of Duty World War II. You're sitting pretty.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a pretty hard one to argue. Benson, what do you think?
I agree with him. I cannot argue in any way, shape, or form that LG need to make a team change. I think the only way that team does change is if potentially one of their best players gets poached. Maybe that throws into some crazy roster mania. But for the most part, Clint's absolutely right. That team should never make a team change. If they do, I will be mind blown.
I was actually going to give 0 points there because that's the most brainless argument that you're going to have to make probably in this segment. Luminosity needing a change. Ben, I'm actually going to give you 1 point because you brought up something that I think is important to this entire Quick Scope segment, and that is the CWL teams are a fragile house of cards, and if one gets pulled out, the entire thing can crumble in on itself. Think about if a team like LG, for some reason, does make a change, all of a sudden the world can burn. So I'm going to award you 1 point for that. It's important that that is brought up, but with that, we're going to jump into our next squad, Red Reserve. Ben, this time you can start.
Nope, they do not need to make a change. At all. No way. I think they found a great rhythm. They went on a phenomenal losers bracket run as well. Yes, they've underperformed in the past couple of events, but I think that's absolutely fine. Put that behind them. For me, the biggest thing about Red Reserve is their attitudes. I think if they can just kind of recompose themselves, really kind of reevaluate a couple of things, they can head into potentially stage 2 looking great.
All right, Maven?
This is difficult because I want to say yes, but the problem is I don't have your answer on what should change. Like there isn't. It's sort of like Ben when we talked about Splice. Like did we think maybe Splice needed a change before Birmingham? Yes, but we didn't know what player would come in that could fix that. So yeah, I kind of feel like they could get better. I just don't know who the hell makes them better. So that's my problem with Red Reserve.
You know, I'm going to bounce off of your thing really quickly because Rated actually said in an interview, Roster Mania, we kind of have to look at the NA teams because there is just a very deep selection of talent there, so we can expect a lot of changes to happen. Red Reserve, Splice, they're kind of sitting in a league of their own. Where are the trades really going to come from if there is a trade for Red Reserve? It would almost have to be from Splice.
If Red could get a top player from North America to fill in a hole on their team, they would do it.
I think it might be the other way around. I think it was more likely going to be the other way around. A top
North American team take somebody from Red, you're saying?
Or, well, maybe just a top European player, not necessarily from Red Reserve. But I think that's the more likely outcome of a kind of international trade.
No, I agree with you. But that's my problem. Do I think they should make a change, or do I think a change could help? Yes, I just don't know what the hell the change is, unfortunately, due to the talent pool in Europe.
All right, I was going to give 0 points, but I'll just give you both 1 point. We're all winning together. Woo, Trading Shots. We're having a great time. E United going to be the next team, and Clint, you can start things off.
Yeah. There's a chance there's a roster change on that team before this show goes live tonight. Yes, without question. If it was me, now do I need to say who I think what's going to happen, or do I have to predict here? Okay. So you need to keep 2 players on the team. Now, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen because anything can happen, but if I were United, I would keep Clayster. He's like the face of our team. He's the biggest social media presence you have. He's got a fan base bigger than anyone outside of Optic. You keep Arcides. He's probably your best player. You part ways with Silly and Pristini, and you make something behind that. Now, I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but that is what I think makes the most sense logically. And it's not, again, that Silly and Pristini are bad players. Yeah, they've been a little bit inconsistent, especially for Pristini's side. He has found form, but you can't convince me that every single tournament that team has a chance to win. They don't. There needs to be a change.
Benson?
Again, I think a lot depends on Arcides, though. I think it's kind of like
It does, yeah.
a ticking time bomb on who is going to approach him first and what is that move going to be, whether it's United trying to lock him into that contract, keep him with that squad and try and build around him, or if it's another squad trying to pick him up and potentially form a dynasty because he is that good. I mean, he's been phenomenal, even at playoffs. Yes, the data pool isn't that big, but individually his performances were phenomenal. I think he's definitely
He's one of the biggest
got
pieces in
very
this whole
high
thing.
stock. Yeah, I think he has unbelievably high stock, and I think there's a lot of teams looking at him right now.
Guys, once again, I'm going to give you both 1 point. I think Alec is an underrated god, but honestly, E United, all of you guys should just part ways, block each other on Twitter for a couple months, and come back and actually win something.
Well, the big thing here is it would be two brothers having to split, which, I don't know. I haven't talked to either of them about whether they'd be willing to do that, and I don't want to speak for one of them, but that's a tough situation. You have a twin brother, which you've been teaming with.
Business first.
Ben, I agree with you. I say business first, give them the best team you can, but it's a delicate situation. It's not the easiest situations.
All 4 of the players on that squad are incredibly capable of winning this year, just not together. Best of luck to all of you guys. I hope that you're affected by roster mania. Now, evil geniuses, Benson, you can start this one off.
Oh, that's a curveball. I was expecting more a different team. EG. Let's be honest, yes. Yeah, I think they do need to make a team change, right? It's one of those where what is going to be your best outcome this year? You're going to win an event? No, you're probably not. I mean, you went into the end of stage 1 in the best possible chance of making playoffs and kind of threw that away. I feel like it's hard to really pinpoint exactly what the issue is, whether it's conflicting leadership or kind of butting heads, if you will. But something needs to change. As of what, I think that is very reliant on what happens maybe further up the scale in more the tier 1, tier 2, and what kind of filters down. I know there's conversation about apathy. Does he maybe get poached into a top team? Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, thanks, Ben. I mean, that was going to be my exact point at the end of it. I hope you didn't get there, but I think the guy with the most stock on that team that likely could be taken out, that doesn't maybe have some baggage that goes with it or headbutts with other players, I think is apathy. I think if anyone leaves that team and goes to maybe a top 4, top 5 team, it's going to be apathy, and that's when they're going to have to figure out what happens from there. Because when you take a look at players like Enable, he bumped heads with Clayster a bit on phase and wanted to take over that leadership role. We know the baggage that comes with somebody like Aches. Nameless has been a little bit up and down depending on what role he's been playing, but I just think apathy for me, I don't know if this is true with the pro players, but he's got the highest stock on that team for me by a landslide. I haven't even looked at the stats for all four players. Apathy is a nice, likable, hardworking guy. He's a world champion. I think he belongs on a team better than Evil Geniuses. And if he is poached, I don't know how that void's going to be filled, but EG may be in trouble. I mean, I think this whole team might end up reworked.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to give the point to Clint this time around. He did a nice job of actually diving into that argument. And yeah, I think that Handsome Devil belongs on a top 4 team. Let's see if it does end up happening. But now we got to talk about FaZe Clan. And Clint, I believe it's your turn to start things off.
This is
Don't
difficult.
do it.
This is
Don't
difficult
do it.
because I don't.
Please don't do it.
I don't want to be caught in the moment, and I don't want to be short-sighted.
No, you're going to do it.
I thought 2 days ago that this is a team that needed a change, right? I think I said it before the losers bracket run. They've been so disappointing this year. This FaZe Clan team and just FaZe Clan organization hasn't won in nearly 3 years. I'm trying to not let this crazy grand final and crazy victory change my mind. I'm so split. Part of me says yes, but there's like 2 outcomes right now. They get this win, they finally get over the hump. This team is either going to come out and now they're suddenly championship contenders, or they're going to go right back to just finishing top 12. That's what scares me. Like, if I say, put it this way. When Slasher announced free agency, I thought there was only one team that he wouldn't be upgraded for, and that's Luminosity with Octane. I thought he was an upgraded AR for every other single team. Now, I know where Slasher's going, so I don't think that would be the case, but it backs up my point that I think FaZe could make a change.
But it doesn't work.
I don't think FaZe are going to make a change. They're not going to make a change. Do I think maybe they should? Yes.
All right, Maven, I think that's an important argument. And Ben, I think I know what you're going to say.
The problem is you can't really change that squad. Their playstyle is very different, and this is important to note.
Yep.
Different teams have different playstyles, right? And Replays is a prime example of this as an AR role. He doesn't need to run around the map and pick up all the kills. What is Slasher going to do to that squad? Then you have a hyper-aggressive attach, hyper-aggressive Zuma, and a hyper-aggressive AR. It's not going to work.
They won 1 tournament. Outside of that, they've been horrendous.
Great.
They haven't been doing anything at other open events. Horrendous for their standards.
Well, Maven, Ben, I agree with you so far, but I want to let Maven talk for just a second here. So, who are you saying you would replace? Because
I said 2 things when we were getting ready for the losers bracket final. I said if you could get someone like a Slasher for replays, I would do it. I will always take talent. I would always take talent for me. That's just how I think. I would take the talented player, one of the top 2 ARs in the game. That's what I would do. And that was before the losers bracket final. Obviously, things kind of changed with FaZe going the run and win the tournament. The other thing I mentioned is you've had that Attach and Zuma duo for so long, right? They've been together for so long. If it didn't work out this weekend and they continue to struggle throughout the year, to me, maybe it was something you were going to rethink. But now, again, it's being caught in the moment now. They just won this tournament. It's hard to argue that they should still make a change, but I'm trying not to be short-sighted. Like, I still think a change would be due for FaZe Clan, honestly.
There's so much more to think about, though. That's
what?
the thing.
Think about all the other crap results they've had all year?
No, Replay's role as a leader on that squad. It is vital.
Leading in the top 12?
You think, all right, answer me this, yes or no, and be truthful. Please be truthful. You think Priesta would have developed into the player he is right now with Slasher on that team as opposed to Replays?
No, he wouldn't have. But guess what? Priesta has now been developed into that player.
And I still think he needs Replays. I still think he needs Replays.
You can be right, Ben, but I'm a guy that'll always go talent. And I know it's tough to say after they just won the event. I was trying not to be short-sighted. I don't think they're going to make a change. They're not going to make a change, but do I still think maybe they could use one so they don't fall back into that rhythm of these top 6s, top 12s?
But they've hit the peak at the right time.
All right, I'm gonna end the argument here because we have a bunch of other teams to go through. Clint, I'm gonna award you 1 point because something that you said is, I think, very important, not only to FaZe Clan but all teams. You can't just base it off of one result. Especially FaZe Clan had to clutch up 1,000,000 times.
It was an
over and
incredible
over.
result. I'm just trying not to focus too much on one tournament out of all the tournaments we've had. That's difficult to do right now.
And exactly, and that's why you're going to get the point. But I'm going to give Ben 2 points here because I think that it is really important that I don't agree with your mentality of just put talent in places. What Replays does, it's not just Priesta.
This is
yes,
no knock. Listen, this is no
Maven,
knock.
It's my turn.
This is no knock to Replays. This is no knock to Replays. You just have a top 2 talented AR. You can't let it pass up, in my opinion.
Maven, okay, the Priesta argument, sure. We saw Replays, Ben, you actually tweeted out. Replays goes from, what, a world champion to a coach to then an analyst.
And then a champ again.
And then, yeah, exactly. So we already know what Replays is bringing to this team. Did he help develop Priesta? Sure. Also, the way that he has to play with Zoom and Attach, I don't think Slasher could do it. Slasher is one of the most talented players in the league, but does he necessarily need to go to FaZe Clan? I don't think he would fit there.
Do we care what Rich thinks?
Yeah, we do, apparently, because I'm running the show, and now I get to ask you another question. Team Caliber, you don't get a start because you're rude. And we're going to let Benson start with TK.
Oh, this is the spicy one. I thought this was probably the one we'd spend most time on, but apparently it's FaZe.
We got to go quick. You get one line, Ben.
All right.
Thanks for doing my job, Clint.
I don't think they've been as good as they were at the start of the year. Something needs to change.
Yes.
Short and sweet.
Yes, they need to make a change. I just don't know if it's Theory that needs to be the change, even though he had some crazy moments this past weekend, or if it's finding a true flex, because Accuracy and Chino have been going back and forth. I don't know if it's a Cheeto replacement or a Theory replacement, but yeah, I think a change needs to happen. This team obviously is not what they once were.
Again, to that point, though, it's very difficult to find where that is because TK is another one of these teams with a different play style, right? It isn't like you can just kind of point at one player and be like, yeah, they need that flex role. Would RCDs work on TK, for example?
Put it this way, if I had to keep 2 players, it's Kenny and Accuracy. Those are 2 I would keep.
Sure. I'm going to give Maven a point here because he is the TK expert. And we will see what happens with this squad next. Let's talk about Rise Nation, though. We already saw some tweets go out about this squad. Maven, you get to start.
I'm pretty sure that this is going to be likely confirmed before this show goes live. There's been nothing public confirmed about it. I haven't heard anything, but it just makes too much sense. So basically, Slasher announces free agency. Methods announces free agency. There hasn't been a lot of time, like enough time to go by for 2 organizations to work out a deal. Slasher was not under contract. So what makes the most sense to happen like that? Slasher Rise.
Well, okay, sure.
Slasher
yeah, that is a thing that is potentially happening, but what do you think of that trade? Do you actually think that is a good trade for Rise?
I think it falls back to what I said. When you have, Methods is a good player. Methods was an MVP at Event. Methods struggles in Search and Destroy, and again, he is a good player. Slasher is a great player. Now, are there concerns? Are there concerns that he'll bump heads with Looney? That he would bump heads with Gunless? Absolutely. But for me, again, it comes to talent. You always replace a good player with a great player.
All right, Benson, what do you think?
You know, Clint's going to stick with that argument, right? That's going to be his argument whenever we talk about Rostermania, that kind of talent over anything else, which I get. It makes sense, right? If you're going to replace a player like Methods, you need to replace him with someone with talent. But for me, the glaring issue here is, well, what would happen? Theoretically, because again, this might not even go down. We're just assuming it would. What would happen if Slasher, Looney, and Gunless don't get on? That could very well be the downfall of Rise.
You're right, but winning solves most things, and I think this team is going to
I'm going to give the point to
Just
Benson
like you
there.
thought Envy was going to win an event.
Ah,
right, Kurt?
settle down.
I'm actually going to give the point to Benson here. It's just I don't think this team needs to be screwed with too much. I think that this is a hasty trade. Let's talk about Splice though now. Maven, you can kick this one off.
I think that Birmingham rum kind of saved it for me. You know, we knew what this team was capable of, Ben, and this isn't a position where I feel like it was as caught in the moment as much. They've had, you know, they started out the year well at Dallas, obviously. They then go on the Birmingham run. I don't think they need a change. And I kind of thought they did before we finally saw that life out of them. I thought they might have got them over a hump, maybe gelled the team again. Deep runs like that can solve a lot of issues. I think I feel good about Splice again.
So just to clarify, you feel good about Splice after they finish second because they go on a deep run, but FaZe Clan win an event and you still think they need to change?
Well, we've seen good moments from Splice, though. From FaZe, we hadn't really to this year. I mean, all their
2
open,
points
all
to
their
Ben
open
for
tournaments
dunking on Maven.
All their open tournaments have been horrendous. Like outside
FaZe,
of the open run, they had to top
the first
four.
event, they started an open bracket, they finished fourth.
That's
That's
Since
incredible.
then.
You lose, Maven. You lose. Benson wins. Now let's
I didn't
talk
even get
about
the point
Slasher. Shut up. Slasher is a free agent. But what about the rest of the team? What about the rest of the team? Where do we think that these guys are going to go? Ben, it's your turn to start.
Oh, that's where it's interesting to me because who knows? Do the rest of the team want to play with each other? I don't know if they necessarily do. I think you're in a weird situation where maybe all three of those players kind of want to split and scramble, but
I think they
because
feel
of-
trapped.
I think that's the key, honestly. Obviously, a team needs to keep at least 50% of their roster. So which two of those is going to try and stick it out and work things out? I don't know, and that's the interesting part of this whole roster mania for me, Rich. I'm going to be honest. Is what happens with the remaining three players of Team Envy.
Yeah, Maven, go ahead and
Move
close
on to
that
the
out.
next team. My thoughts are literally identical.
All right, so I'm going to give Ben the point
Go ahead.
for having the individual thought. But
No, that's
I
literally
actually,
exactly what I was
yeah,
going to say.
But I do think, Maven, the way that you said it, I think is really important. I do feel like there is a feeling of these guys kind of feeling like they are
Slasher
trapped.
brought them in. Slasher didn't re-sign with Envy. They all signed with Envy. I think they all feel trapped and they're trying to figure out what to do. And,
Yeah. It's a rough spot to be in as well. Now, the last one that we got to talk about. Clint, you get to start it off. The Green Wall, Optic Gaming, do you think that they need a roster change?
no. Ben and I debated this. What event was it? Maybe after Atlanta.
A while ago, yeah.
We talked about it.
I was still
I
an
still feel with this core four, they're capable of winning every event. Karma suddenly playing to the capabilities he can. Ben, I think we can agree that if it weren't for a couple of just horrendous chokes, they win that tournament more than likely 3-0. It's tough to deal with. It's tough to swallow, but I think we're finally seeing the role change come to fruition, and this team is going to be, I think, making championship runs now throughout the remainder of the year. They're going to be a contender. I don't think you make a change.
One thing I disagree with you straight off the bat is you said you think they could win every event.
Well, I didn't say they could win every event. I said
Yes,
they're
you
going to be
did.
contenders every event.
All right, well, even that, disagree with.
Okay.
This is their first grand final they've been able to get to. Yes, it's a good time, though. And that's the key thing to note is the timing of when they've peaked here. It's good for them. The role change comes through. But there's just so many other good teams. There really is. And we've seen them struggle a lot this year. So for me, I don't think there's enough evidence to really kind of support that statement. But should they make a change? No, they shouldn't. Would I like to see them make a change? Absolutely. Can you imagine how interesting Roster Mania would be if
I'm
just
with you there.
one of those players left that team?
I want Foreman to leave and
Oh
just start
my.
talking trash on all of them. I would pay
It would
good
be-
money to have that
it would
happen.
be
I want Karma to leave
insane.
too. I honestly
insane.
point to Ben for bringing that up because honestly, the thing is I love these guys, love the team, but at the end of the day, if the roster change happened, it would be the most entertaining thing we could possibly ask for. It would shake up the entire scene. I would love to see the roster change happen, whether or not it's the right thing for the team. I just want to see it happen because I want to see what on earth teams would look like after that. But guys, that is going to do it for our brand new segment. Let's keep things moving. All right, so 2 1v3s, 2 players, 2 sides. Let the debate begin. Maven and Benson, which 1v3 was better? Maven, you're trailing by a few points here, so I'm going to give you a chance to start.
That 1v3 from Attach was one of the smartest, most brilliant, most memorable plays I've ever seen. Was there some luck involved? Yeah, there sure as hell was. He ran through his own team's artillery. But that is just one of those moments you're not going to forget about. It was absolutely incredible. I know both these moments were special in the scheme of the Grand Final, but this happens in a round 11, 1v3 against Optic Gaming. It was just incredible moment, Rich.
Yeah, all right, Benson.
Okay, disagree completely. Gonna preface this straight off the bat with Attach's 1v3 was fantastic. And I also kind of disagree about there being a little bit of luck involved. I don't really think there was that much luck. in the situation he was in, he knew Krim was top middle, and he was basically going to die. He couldn't wrap back to his own spawn. He had to push towards the artillery, but he also knew the artillery had been there for quite some time, plus he had Hunker, so realistically, you're going to be able to get through the artillery. He picks up the 2 kills, easiest 2 kills he's going to get. Neither up to player, expects him to be coming from that angle. The skill really was in the 1v1 and how he manipulated around Krim.
We're to forget that he snapped on that second player and ripped him.
I mean, Scump's not looking at him.
Some turn and
He
look at him.
doesn't. He has no
obliterated.
Cover. He's at
Obliterated.
Attach's side of the bomb. That's not a difficult gunfight from the take. I mean, it's not. The skill was the 1v1, and kind of gets a little bit lucky because both players were sprinting at the time he takes that gunfight. Still, however,
I thought there was no luck, Ben.
It definitely was a little bit of luck. The skill came from outplaying Krim in terms of his movement around the bomb site. Now, again, I want to preface it with fantastic clutch. 1v3 round 11. Bravo. FaZe versus Optic doesn't get better than that. Gives you a 2-0 lead in the first series. But you don't even get there if Replays doesn't win his 1v3, and his 1v3 was completely different. That was with bomb down. He had 45 seconds to kill 3 of the best players to ever grace Call of Duty.
It's a lot of time.
It's not a lot of time. It really isn't.
A lot of time.
Especially considering the way you would expect Optic Gaming to defend that site, right? You have 2 players inside the tin windows, and Reap guns them both. Guns them both with relative ease. But the real skill in that clutch was the read on Formal. Replays read Formal like a book. Like a book. He knew exactly where he was going to be. He read that situation perfectly. And let's not forget, the defuse gave FaZe the streaks, which allowed the series to stay alive. It allowed that map to keep going. It allowed to force to that round 11. If Reap doesn't do that, there is no round 11. There is no attach.
Ben, I'm really glad that you took 3 minutes to break that down, but I'm gonna make this simple for you. 5 years from now, everyone will remember the attach play. 5 years from now, no one remembers the Replays play.
I disagree.
No one. Everyone will remember the attached plays, one of the most memorable plays of all time. No one remembers
Why?
that.
Because he pushed through an artillery barrage with 2 seconds left in it and shot 2 players in the
everything
back?
about it. The fact it was around 11, the fact he ran through an artillery, everything about it was insane. Replay's play was incredible. No one remembers it 5 years from now.
All right, Benson, to start things off, I am going to agree with one thing, and that is Replay's 1v3 was fantastic.
It was.
In particular, Maven, I'm going to need you to cool it because
it was an incredible play. Replay's I'm just agreeing with you.
About to agree with you.
You dwarf.
Technically, it was the better 1v3. I don't feel you can argue.
I disagree with you there.
You can't disagree with that. Technically, it was the better 1v3.
It's a rich tie.
Attach
Ben,
had
minus 2
one thing
points.
to do.
Minus 2 points because you're talking. I don't want you to talk right now. I love this power.
I just think you're an idiot.
That 1v3, a lot of
Ben,
people
I do too. We agree on one thing.
All right, you get a point. I get a point.
Our job may be to disagree, Ben, but I agree with you there.
Minus 3 points from each of you. I'm brilliant. Minus 3 points from me. That was a bold-faced lie. All right, so the thing is, though, that 1v3 from Reap, one of the reasons I think it was so special is because of all the hate that he really has received, and this shows really what this guy can do. Obviously, we talk about the intangibles. You see it in that 1v3. Replays was able to clutch up so many times in that series. If Replays wasn't on the squad, there's so many scenarios where we don't see FaZe win 2 best-of-5s back-to-back, but we're only talking about these 1v3s in an isolated little vacuum, saying which one's going to be remembered, which was the better 1v3, and I have to agree with
there was never a which was going to be remembered. That was never part of the question.
I think that's part of it. I think that really is
I mean,
part
everyone's going to remember round 11. Why do people talk about Scump back in Black Ops 2 champs? But no, that's where you're
Ben,
wrong.
don't be a sore loser. Maven wins this round. It's the grand final. Maven, I'm going to award you 5 points here. Everyone's going to remember that. It was something to be seen. Dylan, an absolute freak, a beautiful round 11. And Maven, with that, you're going to be our winner. So go ahead and put on your A40 Astro Gaming headsets because it's time now for the Smack Talk Winner Circle presented by Astro Gaming. Maven, your 30 seconds start now.
This is going to be less smack talk and more love talk. That was weird. But no, I actually want to talk about FaZe a little bit, how impressed I was with that. You know, I talked to the guys before Birmingham. I picked them to win Birmingham, and they didn't. They were disappointed, obviously, and I lost some faith in them. You know, it's been, what was it, like 932 days since their last victory. Replays has been taking flack. People wondered if this Attach and Zuma pair might need to break up. They hadn't seen any success in a championship in quite some time. But Attach, you came over. You did laundry at my apartment for 6 hours while watching me play Ni no Kuni 2. We bonded, and we talked about the fact that you play better in Columbus and you might be able to bring home the championship. And in one of the greatest grand finals in the history of Call of Duty, 2 best-of-5s you have to take over Optic Gaming. You did it all the way back in 2015 in Advanced Warfare Attach. It was incredible. It was a truly special moment. I was honored to be a part of it, and I just want to say congrats, guys.
That's going to be it for your 30 seconds. Very well said, Maven. That's one of the first times I agreed with you in one of those. But shots were traded and CWO was debated. GG's to both Maven and Benson. And congratulations to our Stage 1 winners. Phase the f*** up. I'm Rich Campbell, and we'll see you next week where we preview CWL Seattle.